You know what bothers me about you sometimes? You're full of it. And I'm going to get on you right now on national television, Max Kellerman, because that argument is very sound. And it's from a factual perspective, theoretically speaking, all right, you have a point. The problem is you never made that about the Yankees this year because they were your Yankees. And suddenly you want to sit up here now that the playoffs have begun. And Chris Sale has a bad night. 17-8, 308 strikeouts this year, a 2.90 ERA, goes at cats all year long. He has a bad day on the hill, and suddenly you're saying he's a big concern. But Aaron Judge, just days removed from you raving about it, co-signing on my notion that the cardiac kids, the baby Bronx Bombers are coming. Here they are, and Aaron Judge showed up in his first postseason game, went 2 for 4, smacked the 2-run home run, and you're raving about them, and you're saying, throw all of that out the window, throw all of that. Here come the Yankees, and just a day later, he strikes out 4 times, and you don't want to mention it. Oh, it's about Chris Sale. Oh, it's not about him. Stop it. He went 0 for 4. You had runners on base. Guilty. He couldn't get it done. He woofed at it. 208 strikeouts this season. 37 consecutive games, if I remember correctly, that he struck out. You talked about him being the face of baseball. Correct me if I'm wrong, Molly. Is it not true that Max Kellerman broached the subject of the face of baseball? The face of baseball. And what he means, well, if you mean that much to the Yankees, Chris Sale had a bad day on the hill. But this dude is that energizer buddy for you. He sparks you. Yes, Gary Sanchez is there, Gregorius is there, and Gardner is there, and all of these boys. Severino, we appreciate him, even though he wet the bed as a 23-year-old. He looked like a puppy out there against the Minnesota Twins the other night. We get all of that. But Aaron Judge is that spark plug. When he delivers for you, you never know what that could galvanize the Yankees into. So if I want to read some article, I mean, who did you mention? Who the 530? Who the hell did you mention? The Nate Silver. You read him all the time. I don't know why you haven't run for office. As much as you read him, I'm surprised you ain't talking politics more. I mean, this is ridiculous. In the end, what it comes down to is that Aaron Judge striking out like that is not a good sign, because when the Yankees don't have their bats flowing in the past, they don't get it done. Their pitcher might show up. They might be respectable. But if their bats don't show up, you got to score runs to win games. Pitching and defense wins championships, but you got to win games. And you don't need Aaron Judge to do that. I'm worried more about Aaron Judge.
Here's your argument. If you want to make that argument, I'll help you out here, because I'm winning by so much.
I don't need your help to make an argument. You need mine.
Here's the strongest argument you could have made, is that Aaron Judge went from a monster in the first half, then after the home run contest, maybe the rest of the swing, who knows, he went extremely cold. And when he went cold, the Yankees struggled. If the argument is, would the Yankees be better off if Aaron Judge was hot instead of cold? Of course they'd be better off if he was hot instead of cold.
The argument is that there's more to worry about him than Sale.
Who's a bigger concern? And my point is, if you got a guy, look, unless you can say that a guy's going to hit like Reggie Jackson, he's going to hit 5 home runs in a series, then you'll take a hitter like that. Very few hitters in the history of baseball have ever done that. But you can rely oftentimes on 1 or 2 starting pitchers to win you the whole thing. Just be yourself. Chris Sale doesn't have to be any better than he normally is. Just be regular old Chris Sale, and the Red Sox are a very tough out. But if Chris Sale, you could start him 2-3 times in a best of 7. But if Chris Sale stinks, the Red Sox are cooked.
Question. Hey, Max Kellerman, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Right now, who do you trust? If I got to sit there and put Chris Sale on the hill, or I got to put Aaron Judge at the plate, and I tell Max to bet his paycheck, who you going to rely on?
Well, I mean, for one at bat or against one batter?
Where's that? Listen, I asked you. No.
Who are they facing?
I'm talking about based on their resume, what they bring to the table. If you had to bet your money who you could trust tomorrow, Chris Sale on the hill or Aaron Judge at the plate, who you going with?
You would take the pitcher because hitting is harder to do.
Oh,
it's harder
so
to
we gonna
hit.
lie.
That's why.
So Spot
Aaron
Kellerman
Judge
is
had an
out now.
excellent on-base percentage.
So Spot Kellerman is out now. So Spot Kellerman starts off the segment talking about Chris Sale without question. That's who you worry about most.
Yeah,
but
that's
you
right.
still
Sure,
trust him before you trusted Aaron Judge at the plate. But the
Because
208 strikeouts have nothing to do with that. Nothing.
The standards are higher for pitchers. Look,
who doesn't know
Aaron
that?
Judge had a great year. He got on base a ton because he led the league in walks, as I mentioned, and he hit for a decent batting average. And his on-base percentage is a little under 400, which means that more than 60% of the time he makes an out. That's the nature of hitting in baseball. The pitcher has the advantage.
Don't annoy
when
me
your
with that.
pitcher, who's supposed to have the greatest advantage
baseball
on your staff, can't get anyone out, that's a bigger concern.
Well, let's be very, very clear. You watch the game and you know your baseball. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not challenging your baseball acumen, but you watch it. I've covered it. That's what sport I covered too. You don't know. You don't sit up there. You ain't telling me something I don't know about. The fact that the odds favor the pitcher instead of the hitter. What I'm pointing to is this. You started off the segment talking about how Chris Sale is a bigger concern. I'm saying to you, hey, if I got my money, I'm going with Sale before. No, you had your chance. I'm going with Sale.
No, let me explain. Let me explain it this way. Let me explain it this way, okay?
Go ahead.
Good pitching beats good hitting. That's why good pitching is more important in the postseason than good hitting. Good pitching beats good hitting.
But that's not my
means
question.
even if your hitter is good, he can still fail.
You're changing the argument against Spot Kellerman.
Even if your hitter,
I'm not saying
even if the hitter is good, he can still fail. But if your pitcher is good, he should succeed. And Chris Sale ain't good right now.
Who do you trust would have a good night? If your money was on the line tomorrow, who would you trust to have a good night? Aaron Judge or Chris Sale?